start.
Yeah.
Not like I'm not used
to
anyway.
Doing, yeah, it's not like
I ain't used to doing two things at once anyway. Like, what's
Hello.
I skipped last live stream. That's why I'm like, why does it feel like it's been forever since I've done a live stream? That would be it.
Because it's your birthday one, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're turning 54 is what I heard on the show.
Mm-hmm. Gonna make your vulture wing. About that age.
It was 52, and you're still a little bit off there.
Yeah, and I'm not just so you know, I'm not 54 either. So if that was the joke you were going for,
no, I wanted to
away.
pick an age that was believable yet annoying to Delvin, and that's where I landed.
I am the youngest person on this podcast, which means
hi everybody.
Which means it's an old
We're just ignoring
full minute. We're just talking about. Of course, we're always just. talking about
I was wondering who's actually got a little more gray. I think Pat might just edge you out there.
But you'd be surprised. There's still someone older than me.
No, Pat's got frosted tips. That's what that is.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, I do this myself.
It's just for old men.
I wish I had, if I could frost my tips again, I think it'd be cool.
You do what now?
I was kind of grungy. I was, that I had that look where I had.
Wait, grunge. Frosted tips was a grunge thing.
I don't know. It was the 90s.
It's a boy band thing.
I did
That
something.
was a boy band thing. Yeah.
That was either Flock of Seagulls or boy band. It was not grunge. Grunge was doing nothing with your
yeah. Grunge was like having a hair here.
Nothing.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I got it. Well, I still listen to it, but
Like a flannel lumberjack shirt. And
yeah. That was me.
Yeah.
I had that.
hearts that you never wore outside.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Matt.
With my
Hi,
Doc
Boy.
Martens on, and I was just chilling there. Yeah.
I left the grunge. I was around the grunge. I'm in the grunge.
There you go. Yeah, let's go ahead and say hello. Hello. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Those that are watching, please join us in the chat. You can join the chat either in YouTube or in X, and we should be able to see that over there, or even on the Facebook if you're there. So join in the chat. Come in the chat and say hello. We will all wave to you, and we will say hello. So let's go ahead and say hello to Matt. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Matt from Kathy. She says hello, yeah.
Hi.
Let's say hello to Bot Boy versus hey.
Hello.
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 Hey.
Let's say hello to Rick.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello. Hi.
There's Kathy.
We only do the top drawer live streams.
Yes. We are on it right away. You're watching the finest. You're watching the best that's out there right now. Well, maybe. At least you're watching the best that's out there right now on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it that way. It's the best.
I'm not gonna find anybody better on the channel. Wait a minute. Text isn't
not live right now. Not live,
okay.
Delvin. Nobody better live right now at this moment right now.
Got it.
On this channel.
On this channel.
Got it.
It's definitely. I think it's us. I think should be. Anyway, we will be recording a episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles, and we'll get to that in just a few moments here. But before we do, again, please get into the chat and say hello to everybody, and also get into. Are we going to do any giveaways before?
I am indeed prepared to do giveaways today.
All right,
yes,
that is.
I am. I've got giveaway stuff to give away.
Wait, sounds
Can't
good.
give away any of your kids. Just want to remind you.
All right. Well, one of them I won't be able to show because it's packaged up, but it was remember we were giving away the little Transformers, the main Transformers.
Oh yeah,
and
those are
I think Captain Entropy won that, but he has his Patreon settings set to you don't need to send me anything. You know how they can do that? They can be, I just want to donate. I don't want to. You don't have to send me anything. And so he won it, and I packaged it up, and I realized, can't send it. So someone's going to win many Transformers today. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, ooh.
He probably has too much, junk accumulating on his table. That's probably why. Yeah.
Delvin?
Huh? Yeah.
Are you raising your hand?
Yes. For the Transformers.
He heard Transformers and said,
I'm in.
You're not in. You're not winning over me. I mean, you can't win. You're not allowed.
I think you guys should settle this through fisticuffs.
Transformer fisticuff.
I think we should settle this over some James Bond trivia, which of course I've won.
Yeah, Pat won that, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
And that could then devolve into fisticuffs.
Or gunshots, right?
Yeah.
I just thought of
know
a
how
good.
well that turns out.
I just thought of a great
Watch
idea.
the birdie.
I could do a real quick James Bond trivia. It's one question, just one question, and I want the rookies to go first, and then if you guys don't get it, I'm going to ask Jared, and I guarantee you he will.
Okay.
That was a lot of pressure on me.
Okay. We'll do this once and then we'll get started.
Okay. I got to run out to my kitchen table real quick.
Oh, you didn't say that. But
I do.
all right.
Hold on. It'll be worth the wait.
All right. Wow.
Well-oiled machine.
Yep.
Will it be worth the wait?
Let's go ahead and say, while we're waiting, let's go ahead and say hi to Doc Strange.
Hey, Doc.
What's up, Doc?
And Eric.
Eric Porter.
Wasn't that an old
Porter?
Hey, he joined our Patreon. Thank you, Eric.
Yes. Thank you
Have
for
to
joining
start
us.
adding him to the list. Let me see.
Heck yeah. Jared, that was a Shaq song, right? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
Oh my god.
Okay.
What's up, Doc? Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard it. Yeah.
I think this is what separates the rookies from the veterans right here. I was at my local library and I bought a book. I'm going to hold this book up. Hopefully you can see it because it's kind of dark in here. But if you can't,
Okay. Yeah. I know.
You
I already know
see
the
it?
answer.
can you see it?
I know the answer.
What movie? Rookies. Which movie is this reference?
I have no idea.
What was it? I'm sorry. I was looking away.
That was not even engaged.
I wish I would have known it right away and could have spit the answer out, but I do not know.
It's a travel book.
Okay, go follow along that path of logical thinking.
This is just like Rookie Agents, where Pat had to get assistant to get the answer.
Hey, you can shout it out too. You can still beat him.
Look,
Yep.
I already said I don't know. I'm just being petty at this point.
The bird watching book.
Okay, you're close. He's thinking of the Birds of the West Indies by James Bond, which is not.
Yes. No, Jared.
No.
Which movie?
LTK, man.
Yep.
This is a kill. They're at the Hemingway estate when he essentially fires Bond, tells them they're not a country club, even though they're kind of a country club. And he said,
Got a lot of white people.
a farewell to arms.
I got to tell you, it made me laugh because I did a recording of our podcast last night, and Jeff had brought that in as just an introduction to the random banter, a quote from that book that he tied to something in the comic we were talking about last night. It is just mind-blowing that a random thought that he had for our show last night, you brought the same book. It's very strange.
Yeah. Lots of connections.
Yeah,
Anyway, I saw
that was
book
just
and I thought,
strange.
As much time as many times that Jeff has been shot at, I would hope something sank.
Yeah.
Yes. He's got to run on paranoia.
That's right.
Oh, he does read a lot of Catcher in the Rye. He's got his copy of Catcher in the Rye not too far away. So,
All right. Well, I think we've gotten bantered far enough here as well, too. So we do have a lot to cover and a lot to do. So I see Delvin giving me the motion. It's the motion in the ocean.
That was the motion.
You
were looking.
I knew it.
That was the motion.
Skills.
I'm going on mute.
I'm doing my. That's my
Hey,
skills.
start the damn show.
All right. All right. We're going to start the show. So as you guys are watching, there will be parts we will want you to be part of as well, too. So when we get there, we'll let you know. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. We will get started in 3, 2. You're listening to Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles episode 80, featuring Amazing Spider-Man number 224 and Uncanny X-Men number 153 from October 1981. All right. Hello and welcome to the 80th. Wow, can you believe it? The 80th episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles podcast. I am your host, aka DJ Christatos. Pat is my name. Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles is a podcast that will journal the Amazing Spider-Man comic books issues in my I'm screwed up.
Only 79 times we practiced.
Only 79 times.
On 81.
I'll get it right, guys. I know it. Just give me another try. I'll get it right. Here we go.
One more try. I'm sorry. Yeah, go, Pat. No, don't get distracted.
Put your podcast around me. One more try. Saying all these creator names are hard for me. Won't you let me give it one more try?
Pat.
All right, here we go. Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles is a podcast that will journal the Amazing Spider-Man comic book issues read chronologically by the release date, along with another comic book from my collection, either in digital, in a trade, or from the many long boxes stashed away in my basement. Each episode will provide short recaps, reviews, and ratings of the issues for that release date. The goal is to keep me actively reading through my collection and having some fun with my friends along the way, talking about them. And speaking about my friends joining me for this 80th episode, we will start with Jared Elbrick, a.k.a. The Death Probe.
Pat. We got some bird action going on today. So, of course, I brought a joke that has to do with birds. And Jason's going to get it right off the bat because he's good at these things. When's the best time to buy a bird, Pat?
In the spring.
No. Any other takers?
When the bird is the word?
When they're cheap. Welcome to the show.
I didn't get it. That's funny.
That is funny.
I literally Googled bad bird jokes as you were doing the intro. And that was the first one that came up.
It's getting harder and harder to love you.
You should have just stuck with that. Sounds like someone's taking some pills.
Yeah, I need to take some Advil after that one.
Okay. Yes. It was hard for me to think of it too, so I can see I was straining my brain too on that one. All right, well, let's go to Jason, the Weasel Skull Ulbrich. What will you be bringing for us today?
Well, just before the show, we started talking about age, and people are making fun of me because I'm the oldest person on the show and everything. And I got to admit, man, things have been falling apart lately. My knee really hurts. And fortunately, last time I went in for a checkup, the hospital just left a bunch of machine parts all around, and I made myself some bird wings, and I decided to go into a life of crime. So we'll take these birdie wings.
Nope.
Let me fly so high.
You cut off.
Because all this stuff is free.
Nope. I'm talking over it. No.
When you got your stuff, I'll take your money.
This is why you need to read the script before you do your bit.
Gonna give it to me.
Oh, well, how long have you been cooking that one up?
Oh, I just read the comic book a little while ago. So
he didn't read the script. He didn't read the script. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
All right, well, let's go ahead and meet our other friend joining me for this 80th episode. It is Delvin, the Dark Web Williams.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Delvin. Yourself?
I'm doing good. And I just wanted to, we're all a little bit tired, and I figured everybody could use just like a bedtime story, to just relax themselves. So if you would regale me, give me a second, I'm just going to start right here on my fairy tale about No one's gonna stop me. I'm just gonna.
I'm not even listening.
I wasn't going to stop you
I was
because now
falling asleep,
I
too.
got to come up with my own bit now because you stole my bit. So you know.
That's what you get for going last, Rick.
I follow the script.
Oh, shots
Appreciate
fired.
Script. The hell's a script?
Oh, well, as much as we want to hear your story, Delvin, perhaps maybe you can say it later on and we'll add it to the show if it's see how it goes at that point. I'm kind of interested to hear it as long as it's not like a you in the water and anything like that. It might put me to sleep as well too.
Yeah, who wants to hear it?
Yeah.
Tales?
Nobody. All right. Well, since you've heard of him, he is joining us as a club member, and club members get to join us on the show as we go through as guests. We have club member Rick Heineken from Jeff and Rick Present and from the monthly Monday Movie Muckabout podcast. Rick, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having me. I felt a little bad because I hadn't read anything that was here that we're supposed to do. I haven't actually learned how to read yet, but thankfully I was able to talk to somebody and he was able to telepathically teach me how to read. And so I was able to read the comic books just in time to do this episode. So
that seems awfully convenient.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
I learned it in Russian.
I took my time.
That could be difficult. That could be very difficult because I think you've got the English version, so I don't know.
You read it in the bathroom, so European.
Oh,
I learned pirate to read it.
Word jokes are starting to look good.
no, actually, those are still better than the bird one.
I think we should finish.
Oh, yes, I agree as well, too. So before we get started, if you want to give us a call, you can leave us a voicemail that we will play later on in the show. You can leave us a mail. You can leave us a voicemail at 707-532-5269. That number is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
Cheep, cheep.
Now, before we get started with this episode's issue, let's take a quick podcast promo break, and we will be right back.
It's all in the timing, Jason. All in the timing.
All right, we'll get started. Before we get started, anybody else saying hello in the chat? I'll have my chat checker, Delvin, the chat checker.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew?
Have you seen Courtney? You saw Courtney, right?
I did see Courtney. Yes, hello, Courtney.
Okay. Yep. Courtney, Eric, Auburn Elvis said he was watching or listening while driving, so you may not have seen him pass by, but that's it.
All right.
Hang on. I'm going to mess with Auburn Elvis. In 800 yards, take a left. If he legitimately gets in an accident, because I'm going to feel bad.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
Recalculating.
Yeah, that's what it is. Recalculating. I just tell me where I'm going. Recalculating. For those of you still watching,
do you think he answered back? Thank you very much.
Could be. For those of you watching, please get into the chat, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, X, YouTube. Join us. Chat with us. We would like to see you, and you get in on the raffle. Now, before we get started, let's go ahead and we'll get started with this first issue. Keep in mind, we're going to ask them for your thoughts on the cover, ratings, and so on. So be ready in the chat for that. With that, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back from the break. Now let's get to the first featured comic for this episode. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 224. The credits for this issue are provided by Mike's Amazing World of Comics website. And let me bring up the banner. Let's do that. Boom. There's Jared. And now we got to find the Are we all here? We're not all here. No. There we go. Thank you, Jared. I got to make up a new one. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Publisher was Marvel. It's got a cover date of January 1982. Its on sale date was October 6th of 1981. Cover price is 60 cents. Editor was Thomas P. DeFalco.
Superstar.
Oh, rock me. Writer is Roger Stern. Penciler is John Romita Jr. Inker is Pablo Marcos. Letterer is Joseph Rosen. And the colorist is Glennis Ween.
Is it? Was she that?
Woo-hoo! It's color me back colors. Glennis Ween. Oh,
Great start already. Great start.
yes. This is reprinted in Spider-Man Magazine #1 from 1994, or you can find it in Spider-Man's Greatest Villains trade paperback from 1996. Backpack Marvel's Spider-Man trade paperback as well. The Essential Spider-Man Volume 10, or Spider-Man Nothing Can't Stop the Juggernaut hardcover, or Spider-Man by Roger Stern Omnibus. Or you can also see it on Marvel Masterworks Volume 293 of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 22. That's a lot. They reprinted this in around. Wow.
A lot of royalty checks for these cats.
Yeah. Good for them. Cover credits are by John Romita Jr. and the inker is Bob Layton. And speaking about the cover, let's get a cover description from Jared.
Here we go. The Marvel Comics Group banner has once again been replaced by your opportunity to win a 10-speed bike, Jason.
Ooh.
It's a yellow banner with black lettering. Spidey swings in his matching yellow corner box, and the Amazing Spider-Man logo is white with red highlights, and it includes the webs. The main action is highly reminiscent of one of those Olin Mills montage photos from 1989. It features the Vulture.
That's a good one there.
Thank you. It features the Vulture from lots of different angles and a solitary dangling Spider-Man. All of this is on a solid blue background. The dominant version of the Vulture is a thoughtful profile shot lit only in magenta, where I'm fairly certain the Vulture is thinking, so take these broken wings and learn to fly again, learn to live so free. Now, let's round this out with a Jason game of spot the fake cover blurb. A, the Vulture's back, deadlier than ever. B, let fly these aged wings. Or C, when we're here, the voices sing. The book of love will open up and let us in. Let us in.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to you, Pat.
Oh, well, I love that Mike and Mechanics reference. Thank you very much.
Oof, Pat.
But
I think it's Mr. Mister.
oh, Mr. That's right. It's Mr.
Yeah. Shame on you,
Man, shame on me.
Start the show over.
Yep.
Start at the
All right,
top.
do it over. Sing it over again. All right, Jared. Thank you for that cover description. Let's go ahead and get into the quick cover thoughts. And we will start with our guest, Rick. What's your thoughts on this cover?
Well, they really are trying to get the Vulture over as being the worst, aren't they? I haven't decided whether I like this cover or not. It's a lot with the Vulture just everywhere. And I think it's cool looking. I think it's very pretty looking. I think it's interesting, but I'm not sure if I like it or not. Vulture's not my favorite of Spidey's rogue villains. So just putting him on the cover a lot doesn't necessarily sell it for me. But I like how it does tie into the book as far as the Vulture's everywhere and he can't find him. I question the Vulture's back deadlier than ever.
Okay, so you're
It's a
saying
sliding scale.
Yeah.
He's deadlier than ever, but
Is he?
He's closer to dead than ever.
Yeah. That would be more appropriate.
Could be, but all right. Let's go ahead and go to Delvin. What's your thoughts on the cover?
All right, y'all. Put a little bit of respect on the Vulture's name. I mean, if for no other reason that he was around when letters were invented, right? Like, so give him credit for that. But I mean, he is one of Spider-Man's oldest foes. Not like literally in age, but like ever since Spider-Man was around, like he's been beating up on the Vulture, which I did have the thought where it's like, man, like, they better explain that this dude has like some amped up degree of powers, because otherwise you got like a teenager going through his 20s just beating the crap out of a 70-year-old man. I don't care if he has wings. That's just freaking cruel.
Or a 70-year-old man beating up a 20-year-old kid.
Well, okay, I can justify that. Like, I don't come back in about 23 years or so. And I'm just ticked off at kids, and I don't know, maybe I want to like smack a 20-year-old in the face. I'm not sure yet. So I'm just going to take it that one way, Rick. But other than that, like the cover itself is good. And for whatever reason, I actually like Jared cracked me up with the Olin Mills thing, but like it does look like Adrian Toombs is about to drop one of the hardest mixtapes ever. Like with that side profile going on. But it's kind of cool. So I like it. It's almost like, who drew this cover? I should have been listening.
John Romita Jr.
Romita? So, I mean, it's a good Romita cover. You could tell that he had a little bit of fun with it. And so I'm okay with that. Like, I will give respect to the Vulture for him being one of Spidey's oldest foes. And I will give respect to John Romita Jr. for the cover. And hey, at least the regular artist for Spider-Man drew the cover. So there's credit for that too.
Very good. You know, I think that this reminds me of like if it was a trading card kind of a thing, like here's a Vulture and here's this side picture, and on the back it had some bio information on it. I think that would really, really cool to be a nice picture for that. But let's go to Jason. What's your thoughts?
I might be in the minority here, but I kind of like the Vulture. I've always thought he was kind of aesthetically cool looking. And I know it's a little awkward because I think they say he's like a septuagenarian, so he's in his 70s here. So, like Delvin was saying, it's a good thing that they explained in there that he has some augmented strength somehow. I don't know exactly how he got his powers. He's obviously very smart, as we'll talk about as we dive into the issue. But I've always thought he looked pretty cool. And like Delvin said, I mean, wasn't he like, I don't know, issue 2 or something of Amazing Spider-Man? Like he came out early. He's one of the OG villains.
Yeah, he's an early.
So you got to give some respect for that. And the book is really, it's kind of about him a little more so even than Spider-Man. And there's some, some themes in there that we'll get into later. So it kind of, the cover I think is accurate that like Rick said, he's chasing him all over the place. So having multiple Vultures on the cover both kind of shows the pacing of the story, and it kind of talks about the longevity of the character. So yeah, from the terms of let's give some respect to the Vulture as a Spider-Man villain, I like it.
Jarrett, let's go over to you. Are you a Vulture fan or are you not?
I kind of am. I had a couple of the old Spider-Man 60s cartoons on VHS when I was a kid in the 80s, and I'm pretty sure one of them was featured Vulture, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, there's been a theme with everybody's commenting on it. It really boils down to how much do you like the Vulture on this cover. And you and I talk about that on like every episode of G.I. Joe, Pat. We talk about the cover. Like, it really depends on how much you like whoever's featured on the cover. And I like the Vulture just from a color wheel point of view. I know you guys were hoping I'd talk about the color wheel today.
I was actually going to ask you that too. For me, I like the color pops that are happening here.
It's the magenta purpley. It's opposite on the color wheel is yellow, which is why it was smart to go with that with the box and the banner at the top. So those do play well off each other, and green's not bad off of it either, as you can tell. So it's not bad. And even though I did write the Olin Mills joke specifically to make Delvin laugh, it does make me think of that, the little faded in different face angles that they used to do back in the day. but it has a certain amount of charm on it, so I'm not going to hate on it.
All right. Well, I appreciate all you guys' thoughts, but now let's get into the cover ratings for this issue. As a reminder, for the last 79 episodes, we have a rating system here of a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It tickled your tummy feathers. And man, these are the feathers that started it all.
These are the feathers that started it all. Because Spidey kicked him like square in the nuts. He was like, oh, my tummy feathers.
Oh, see, it all comes back around. Bits and bits. It just keep circle of bits. 4 is you really liked it. 3, you liked it.
Yeah.
It's okay. 2, you didn't like it.
No.
And 1, you hated it. It ruffled those tummy feathers. Oh, ruffles. Oh, they don't like that at all. Let's go ahead and find out how we rated this. We'll start with our guest, Rick.
I was originally going to go with a 3, but looking at it a bit closer and also really seeing how the colors do pop, and I got to give John Romita the credit for doing a really nice cover with that too and tying it in. I'll go and move it up to a 4.
Ooh. All right. Rick starting it off with a bump up. Thank you. Let's go ahead and find out where Jason sits with this one.
Well, I thought I was going to be the high point here, but I'm going to match Rick's 4. I think that if I were to hang some covers on my wall, I would have to give some serious consideration to the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, right? So I think Vulture deserves to be in that Rogues Gallery. And I think this is a cover kind of along the lines of that Dr. Doom cover from the X-Men we talked about. That's like, wow, this is a really good representation of this villain. Okay. So I don't know if there's better ones out there, but this would definitely be in consideration. So I'll give it a 4.
I like that thought, Jason, that this is a good representation of the Vulture. Delvin, do you think the same?
I'll read just a couple of comments from the watching gallery. Botboy Versus said, I give it an 8. I'm going to assume he meant 8 out of 10. If you extrapolate that, carry the 1, that's 4 out of 5. So Kathy gave it a 4. Courtney didn't like it as much, gave it a 2. And Matt Passo gave it a 3, says middle of the road. And so I think I'm at a 3 myself. It's more that, high level of 3, with the possibility of sunshine later. I can't quite give it a 4, but I do like the idea that John Romita Jr. had with it. I thought it was real good.
Jarrett, you praised the coloring on this. Where do you sit on the cover rating?
I think it's just interesting to note that we've seen 2s, 3s, and 4s, because I really think that's the spectrum it falls in. It has a wider spectrum than a lot of stuff, and I think it's dependent, again, on how much you like the Vulture, and, if you remember all those old photos from the 80s and 90s. But
I do.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. No further questions. Back to you, Pat.
Oh, what? Wait a minute. You can't do that.
Can and I will.
Nope.
I have a question. I have a question though.
What is it?
You can he do that?
No, Rick. You can't.
The answer is
cannot.
no.
Yes.
No. I think Rick knew the answer before he asked that question.
That's right. That's our first bylaw.
I'm gonna stick with a 3, but you know what, Pat? It's one of those
strong 3.
Strong 3.
One that kind of flies high, a flying high 3.
Yeah, I just feel like I've seen a couple of Vulture, like Jason said, he couldn't think of any better Vulture covers. I feel like I got a couple in mind that might be better. But yeah, it's a happy 3.
Okay. I see where you're at with that, and I will. I'm kind of tossed between that, but I will go with a 4 on this one. I think I like it. I like it that it has that look of the Vulture in that silhouetted look of him. I like it, and I like the colors make it pop. So that leaves 1, 2, 3 cool guys at a. Had to do the math there. 3 cool guys at a 4 and 2 chumps at a 3.
Just weird how that always works out.
It is
is.
so strange.
Hey, I just count them up, and that's the way the math. That's the way the math works out with that. All right. Well, now that we've got the cover description and our thoughts out of the way, let's move on into the story synopsis, and that's brought to you by Delvin.
Almost had a panic attack. Like, did I write a synopsis?
Oh, Spidey, right? Am I right?
He did some things, and the Vulture was like, ah, and Spidey was like, mm-mm. And May was like, could you give me some info? Okay. The title of this issue is Let Fly These Aged Wings. The action, as it were, starts with Pete setting a date with the lovely Aunt May, who we find out is engaged to Nathan Lubinsky, who she met at the Restwell nursing home. Action does pick up a bit when Spidey stops some robbers from getting away with a bank heist. I'm sure the owner of the bank was all, thank you for being a friend. Yes, I'm making it that obvious. We then move to Bellevue Hospital, where Nathan is convalescing and makes friends with one Adrian Toombs, known as the Vulture to you, sonny boy. Nathan inadvertently motivates Toombs to recapture his youth, as it were, and so Toombs finds some old busted parts and makes some wings and takes off. You could say he rose to the occasion. And as he keeps rising, because he starts a great series of heists all over town, Peter finds out about it, and Peter finds out about it as he's trying to make some photos at the Bugle and gets interrupted by JJJ and Lance Bannon, causing him to blanch. Spidey fails to find Vulture, as Vulture didn't exactly come after him, so Pete goes to Restwell as he promised May. While May sits on the Sophia, Pete goes to say hello to Nate, and guess who's there too? Nate's friend Adrian, the Vulture. Eventually, a fight ensues in the nursing home where Spidey and Vulture knock through some walls, windows, and door of thieves. And the end of the battle sees Vulture accidentally accosting Nathan and letting him go, as Nathan is the guy who gave Vulture his groove back. Vulture flees as Spidey was accosted by a bunch of senior citizens who were thanking him for saving the day. Back to you, Pat.
I got to jump in, Pat, and remind everybody that the whole Nathan Lubinsky storyline is carried over from an issue of Spornacular Spider-Man. Spornacular. That's for the deep. That's Dorothy's last name. Okay, back to everybody else.
Oh, I get it now. I should have caught that ahead of time.
Spornak. So I said Spornacular Spider-Man.
Oh, I get these.
I'm with you now. I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh, what a golden reference. Oh, man.
Just hanging out with the girls here, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You should. Well, anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Delvin, for that story synopsis. Let's go ahead and get into the bric-a-brac for this issue. Is it a first read or a reread? Rick, first read or reread?
First read.
Jared.
First read, I believe, Pat.
Jason.
First read.
Delvin.
First read, Pat.
It's a first read for me too. Woo! It's a reading rainbow.
Reading rainbow.
Reading rainbow.
Oh, man. What a great episode this is starting out to be. We got Glynis. We got a reading rainbow. This is
We
awesome.
got me.
We got 3 cool guys and 2 chumps. We got everything going on here. What could we ask for more? We'll find out. Speaking about more, let's go ahead and get to some high, lows, or what does. We'll start off with Rick again on our high, low, or what the for your first round.
I'll start off with a high. One of the things I really like about some of the older comic books that are out there, something that seems to be lost a lot with some of the newer ones, is the great action pieces where you actually see character or characters going through some awesome motions and you can actually see them connected. And we've got a great one here at the beginning with Spidey versus the bank robbers, and then later on when he's actually fighting the Vulture himself. There's great movement, great action, and you also get the thought bubbles as well, with him kind of thinking about the things he's got to do, or thinking about what he's got to also take care of. You know, I need to take care of this so I can take care of my aunt, make sure that they're all okay as well. There's a lot of frenzied motion and frenzied action that goes on in these scenes, and it's really well done. Once again, props to Romita Jr. for fantastic art, but I like seeing this, and I think it's a lost skill in a lot of the modern comics nowadays.
I totally agree with you on that. This was full of action, and the panels did not disappoint with that. Jarrett, what's a high, low, or what the for this round?
I am gonna pick the highest of lows, and that I mean, I gotta remember we're live, so we can't really bleep. Lance Bannon being a low key turd. Like, oh no, Pete, you didn't double check that light. How bad for you? Well, I guess my bank robbery picture is gonna come out just fine. Oh man, he reminded me of the dude that took Debbie Whitman.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's in contention for my silly Spidey moment, although I don't think I'm going to pick that. But I just had to give it up for that Lance Bannon moment of him, you know, being that frenemy, right? That hey, buddy, maybe next time you should check. You know, all the while he was being a turn to Pete. So yeah, and I just want to underline what Rick said. Yeah, the art flow in this is great. It's great. It's and it is kind of a lost art, as he said. So agree with Rick and love the Lance Bannon moment.
Yeah, there are definitely some good character moments throughout this one that I really enjoyed as well too. Delvin, what's your high, low, or what the for this round?
I'm going to give a high. I'm going to give a high to Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. I like they could have played him like, you know, I mean, they mentioned septuagenarian, so he's somewhat in his 70s. Got it. But the repeated theme that they gave, like at first, you know, it's felt like, you know, maybe folks at the nursing home, whether it was inadvertent or not, were making him feel like he was basically at death's door and he had nothing else to contribute. And the rest of that issue, especially after he made those makeshift wings and took off, which was an incredible feat, by the way, if you think about that. He just took trash and turned it into something that he could literally fly with. That's an incredible thing for anyone at any age to do. But the beat that I want to pick up on is that when Peter saw him and in his head made him out to be the Vulture's old school bad guy criminal instincts kicked in. Is like, this dude knows who I am. I'm made. And he was already taking steps like, I'm about to knock this dude off and drop him off of a building. Like, that was some straight up, just awesome, instinctive things. And it showed kind of what a wily character that Adrian, the Vulture, is. And it was very much appreciated.
Yeah, that guy still got some evilness in him and could definitely pull it off with his age and all that. I like speaking about older people, I like the old, her Aunt May's boyfriend now, or fiance now too.
Nathan.
Yeah. We've seen him in some previous issues. Now we get to see him again coming back. And I just like his attitude. He's like, hey buddy, I'm all cool.
Have we seen Nathan in Amazing Spidey?
He's been in Spec a lot, but not in Amazing. I feel like we did a Spec somewhere. We did an issue of Spec for, I don't know, maybe a Longbox or something.
Maybe. I thought we seen him earlier on. Like, wasn't he at the whole Aunt May story of the
Rock Band?
They did like at one of
the
that vignette where it was like that Aunt May story, but I don't remember whether Nate was there.
He was in or not. I know we at one point did a Spec Spidey and he was in that.
Maybe then.
And maybe it must have been a long box, or maybe I was podcasting with other people.
It could be. Either way, I like how Aunt May's got some fun stuff going on there. I guess really what I like is just the hijinks and stuff that are always happening at Aunt May's, the old homestead like that. Lots of stuff happening there. Jason, you got a high, low, or what the?
Yeah, I'll just kind of continue what Delvin started talking a little bit about the Vulture. I like the theme of this book about just aging, right? What makes a good villain is a compelling story arc, and him battling his age. It's something that touches on all of us. I mean, as I'm getting up there and I've got more runway behind me than I have in front of me, it's something that you think about. And there's that scene in there that really struck me when he just throws his cane away. He's like, I ain't using this thing anymore. And I just like both Nate and Toombs. Now, Toombs uses it to do bad things, but they're refusing to go into that good night quietly. There's that theme that, and I gotta say, I really respected the Vulture a little bit, even though again he's doing bad things and Spidey's got to stop him. There was a little piece of me when you turn that page and you see him flying around that hospital with those MacGyvered wings he built, going, "You go, boy, you go, you show him." So that was a good little bit of storytelling and a high from me.
Awesome. I'm like, where are these big rooms at? He's got enough room to kind of fly around, and I just. Good for him. Good for him. And he's got that electronical thing to put together, like Delvin said, to take all that stuff and just make his wings and fly. Smart guy. We'll go back to round 2. Rick, do you have a high, low, or a what the?
I think I'm going to go with a low on this one here. I wasn't really a big fan of the overall story. And that's just because when it came to it, I felt that as I started reading the story, I knew exactly where it was going to end. There was nothing really suspenseful about it. There was, as soon as they started with Pete saying that he was going to see his aunt at the retirement center, and we start seeing the Vulture, he's going to be put in retirement, or he's at the retirement center. I'm like, oh, okay, they're on a collision course for wackiness. I've seen the story before. So I knew exactly what beats were coming. Maybe it's just me. I'm cynical. I've read these kinds of things too much, or it didn't seem that there was a really compelling overarching story here. I will say that I do agree with Weasel Skull and how they were really portraying Toombs and his fight against old age. It's just the setup for how him and Pete were going to cross paths. Yeah, saw that from about the second page. So I'm sorry for bringing on a low on that one, but that was my one problem with this book is I just knew exactly where it was going. I knew somehow he was going to be put in a situation where he was going to be able to get wings and break out of here, and they were going to have a fight based upon the retirement center.
Yeah, I can kind of understand where you're coming from. As we've been reading these things, I think what I find more fascinating with is that this action kind of is more of the filler. I think the stuff that's really happening is the J. Jonah Jameson stuff, the background, other things of Peter's life is kind of the ongoing thread that I'm looking forward to. And his fight with the Vulture is just like, it's some action that he had to get, some action he beat that he had to get to. But they're continuing to make those building of those different side stories that are going on. And I enjoyed that part of it. Jarrett, you got a high, low, or what the?
I have, I guess, one of the biggest what the's maybe we've ever done on the show. Because what I want to do is remind everybody that this book that came out in, 1981, something like that. You read it. I wasn't paying attention. This book that came out in the early 80s features the Vulture, right? And so the Vulture's going to be back in Amazing Spider-Man several times throughout the years, and he's going to hurt people, and he's going to steal things, and he's going to break things, and most of all, hurt people. And really, it's all Nathan Lubinsky's fault because he was ready to retire, and Nathan was like, "No, go get him, kid." So yeah, everything from here forward that the Vulture does, Nate's fault. Thanks for the pep talk, Nate, you ass.
So, Jerk of the Issue, the award for Jerk of the Issue, Jerk of All Time award goes to
Nathan.
Nate.
Nathan.
Yeah. Way to go, Nate. Thanks for your pep talk. You revved the wrong engine on that one, buddy.
You just had to have another poker buddy. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
But what if the overall thing is like Nate is like some bigger mastermind, the guy where he's like controlling all.
He's actually the Rose.
It all starts here.
Redcon.
Wow.
Nate, you mastermind. I love it. Hey, it's probably like us, Pat. Like a podcast out there has probably inspired some villain.
Yeah.
One of our podcast episodes.
I'll show you.
It's the same thing that what Nate did. Hey, perk up, buddy.
It's going to be why I tell the cops why I went evil. I listen to this podcast show.
Yeah, this podcast told me I can do whatever I wanted.
Yeah. Hey, at least we're doing some good. People are listening. All right. Well, let's go ahead to Delvin. You got a high, low, or what the?
More of the what the variety, and it's gonna piggyback a little bit off of what Rick said. We need a story in Amazing Spider-Man, right? There hadn't been a story in a while, and so what I'm hoping is by bringing in a, let's say, A- to B+ level villain like the Vulture, that we're going to start something, because as it seemed like this didn't end in a definitive win for either Vulture or the Spider-Man or Spider-Man. Like Spidey didn't catch the bad guy, and the bad guy got away vowing revenge on Pete. So maybe something's gonna be going on there, and we'll see how that builds. Like using my the few memories that I remember from Spidey coming up, 6 issues from now. We got a pretty big one. And on about 14 to 15 from now, we're going to start a storyline with a major new Amazing Spider-Man foe, at the time anyway. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a story that builds in between now and again, because that would seem like a heck of a long time to just kind of mill about, as it were. One last thing, I doubt that we're going to be doing Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles when these storylines come about, but 2 people in this book wound up meeting a tragic fate at some point or the other. So it was also interesting seeing that part of it, from this side of it, where those characters are still alive.
Delvin, never say never. Come on, just put your chin up, buddy. We can do it.
Yeah, man.
This
Throw the
issue is
pain
proven.
away. Keep podcasting.
If the Vulture can have a life outside of the retirement center, we can too.
Exactly.
You know what? You guys are right. And don't pay any attention to the news in Charlotte later. It's not me.
Go rob something.
Yeah.
Delvin, this is live.
Shit.
On that note, let's go ahead and talk to Jason. You got a high, low, or a what the?
I'll give it another high. I really appreciate the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man and their blended lives, right? And I think this issue really kind of encompasses the responsibility that Peter has both to pursue and bring the Vulture to justice, alongside with his responsibility to take care of his Aunt May and those responsibilities he has, even if it's something just as simple as showing up for the Saturday dinner. I think that there are very few characters in comic books today that really encompass that blending the 2 worlds and how he has to juggle those things together. And you mix in the him trying to make some money. He's already invested in a new camera lens. He's all set and ready to make some bank off these photos, and then he just gets kind of short-circuited there in the end.
Lance,
stupid Lance. But I think this is one of those issues that really show those merging of the 2 worlds really well. And I want to point out the scene where Aunt May's thinking to herself, like, oh, I thought he was over this irresponsibility, right? So she's got thoughts that she doesn't say to Peter, but she's thinking them. So as the reader, we're really seeing that struggle, that tension between the world of Spider-Man and the world of Peter Parker. And I always like that. I always appreciate those elements of the story.
I definitely agree with you on that too. This was a good one where it started off like Peter is on his high, Parker high, and then all of a sudden you start to see the Parker bad luck start to come back in and just kind of bring him down a little bit more, but not as bad as it has been. But maybe like Delvin said, is this building up to something even bigger where eventually it will be further down and have to rise back up again? Maybe Nate will help him on that too. Give him a pep talk, Nate, and get that Spider-Man back up and back swinging around and do what he needs to do. All right. Well, now that we've done 2 rounds, does anybody have any final thing they want to get off their chest? Is there something ruffling that they want to get off? All right. With that, then let's go ahead and roll into Silly Spidey Moment, where we will find out we will find out the silliest Spidey moment in this issue. And let's go to Rick. Rick, do you have a silly Spidey for this issue?
Yeah, when he's taking out the bank robbers and he's messing with them the entire time. But I like the one part. Anyone for a fast game of leapfrog? No. Geez, what a bunch of stick in the muds you are. So I like the stick in the muds. As he's
That was a good one.
Yes.
knocking them to the ground.
That was definitely going on. There was the one in there. There's also 2 where he makes some kind of other funny moment. I thought just all his quips in that whole scene would be my Spidey moment for that.
Yeah.
Jarrett, do you have a silly Spidey?
Of course, sir. I texted it to you guys. I took a screenshot of it and I texted it to you guys. It's when the Vulture shows up at the medical center and he first meets Nate. And Nate is over there in a bathtub. And he yells at him from across a rather large room.
As one would do. Yeah.
You're the new kid on the block. And Toombs goes, eh? And he goes, come over here and we'll chew the fat while I'm in the rinse cycle. And I think I said, you guys wrote this as my caption. How about no, you creepy old bastard? Like, what the heck, man? Like, you're in the bathtub and like you meet someone first. Hey, come on over here. I'm in the tub.
Don't dip your old prunes in this water with me.
Like, I was so relieved when I found out he was wearing swimming trunks. I was just like, what? Anyway.
Actually, Jared, he was naked, but off panel, they made him put on the trunk.
Yeah, the Comic Code Authority came in and they drew in the purple shorts there on that last panel. Or because up until that point in time, it was Commando style.
Yeah.
This is a panel missing where Toombs actually is like, hey, buddy, put these on.
I will continue to talk to you if you cover up the Johnson.
Hey, come on over here, man. I'm in the tub. Let's chat. No. Anyway, that's it.
We mean we all didn't meet friends that way? Is it just me?
I mean,
Pat, we're live.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Moving on then. Jason, what's your silly Spidey?
Oh, I like the scene when he's trying to develop those photos and J. Jonah Jameson just ruins the whole thing by opening the door. And he I forget the word he uses, but like, which idiot?
Ignoramus. Ignoramus.
Yeah, ignoramus, yeah. And J. Jonah Jameson was like, you might want to think about who you're calling an ignoramus here. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Definitely. Lance Bannon. Oh, no, Pete.
Oh, there's a short right here.
Oh, no. Who could have guessed?
And the short on the light is just him knocking it, screwing it kind of back into place because he just unscrewed it just a little bit and just,
Oh, that Lance. Delvin, do you have a silly Spidey?
Yep, nice little pun. I thought Rick was about to take it when he was talking about the puns during the heist, but it was funny when the getaway guy was, trying to get away and found out he couldn't, and Spidey says, "Good morning, sir. Fill her up. Should I check under the hood?" "Oh, I see. You are a hood." See, it's a play on words.
Yeah.
Like hood of the car, but hood also meaning a bad guy.
And he was also wearing a hood.
Yeah.
Or like cheap was something a bird would say, but it's also the cost you'd want to purchase.
No, I don't.
Double entendre.
No, don't get that's not.
Oh, I still don't get it. Okay, never mind. Let's now that we got the silly Spidey moments out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the ratings for this issue. As a reminder, again, it is a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It tickled your tummy feathers. Ooh, yeah. 4, you really liked it. 3, you liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It ruffled those tummy feathers. Oh, just that counterclockwise. Don't do that.
No.
If you're gonna do it, and if you're gonna do it, just and don't ask for me to get in the tub. Yeah, nothing like wet, soggy feathers in a tub. Ugh. I hate it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into that rating. We'll go to Rick, 1 through 5 for this issue.
Sorry, I'm having trouble getting the soggy tummy feathers out of my head now. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 3 on this one. I can't really get by the bad overall, or not bad, I guess just predictable storyline elements of it. I like the individual action moments of it. I like a lot of the parts of this, but I kind of wanted just a little bit meat on the bone of the story. It was a little too stringy and old and, kind of like the Vulture.
I see what you're doing there.
See what I did there? Yeah.
Yes. Some tendons and
I'm going to go back on mute here. Then I'm just going to go back on mute now.
Okay.
It's gamey.
Gamey. Well, Jason, since you got the mic, what's your score?
I agree with Rick. This is about a 3, kind of solid 3 for me. Real middle of the road. And yeah, Delvin brought it up. I need a good story arc, man. It has been a minute. So waiting.
Jarrett, are you going to meet them at a 3, or are you going to go higher or lower?
Oh man, I am tempted to bump up here because I do feel like it's your average run-of-the-mill 3 storyline, but I like the fact that it's been talked about that we focused on the story of getting older. When you're a kid and you're reading Vulture stories, you're like, it's the old man. And then, like Jason said, when you start getting older like us, we're like, oh, tell me more. I'm interested in that. And I always like it when the villains interact with Peter instead of Spider-Man, because now Peter's got to cook up where he's been and all that stuff too, and that blurred, line between it being Spider-Man and Peter. So you know what? Let me just raise it up. If Joe November was here, I'd give it a 3.5, but I almost pulled the trigger on the cover. I will pull it on the story. I will give it a 4, although I totally agree with Jason. We've been given a lot of episodes with no story arcs lately, so we need to get back to that. But I'm going to use up all the positivity I have left on this episode for this moment.
Okay. So I hear you're at a 4 for what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Delvin, are you at a 4 or a 3, or where are you at?
I was thinking 3, but you know what? Actually, before we get to mine, I'm going to read some of the comments. I got 4 of them. Matt Paso gave it a 3. Says, like the cover, this one is a 3. Barely. Courtney says that she will bump up the story to a 3. So I guess she was not liking it, but we convinced her. Eric Puerta says 3. Roger Stern's Spider-Man's run is underrated, in my opinion. I agree with you. Roger Stern has written some very good Spider-Man stories. Absolutely, Eric. I totally agree with you on that. And Botboy Versus also gives it a 3. I am inspired by Jared's positivity here, the last remnants of positivity that he has for this episode. And I will bump it up to a 4 because there were some things that I liked. We often talk about how Spider-Man's universe has almost as an important role in his whole canon as Spider-Man does. And this is one of those cases. I like that Spider-Man made his appointment to meet Aunt May, because a lot of times there's this old trope where Spider-Man, the dude who's all about ultimate responsibility, blows off like 75% of his commitments. And it's like, is he really that responsible then? Because it's like, did you really have to stop that bank robber? It's like, I understand how, like, why you could have, or if you see it, that you have to stop it. But no, you don't have to go patrolling 15 minutes before you go to that appointment and then get into the trouble. So
time management.
Right. So I like that he made the commitment to see his aunt. I like the beat that they had with the Vulture being an absolutely wily old man. And I like the fact that it didn't necessarily end cleanly, that it kind of left a to be continued. So there are a lot of things to like in the story. And I hope I will be even more convinced that the 4 was a great call if in issues from 225 to about 230 or so that we pick back up on this story. So I'll give it a 4.
All right. Well, you do make some compelling points for that 4 and the story that is going on. But I think there is a big theme, and I see what's going on here. I am going to be at a 3, so we are at another stalemate of 3 cool guys at a 3 and 2 chumps at a 4.
Doesn't
I was
sound
wondering
like
if I was going to be a cool guy or a chump.
doesn't sound like a stalemate to me. It sounds like we outvote them because three cool guys.
We'll see how the next issue goes.
Rick, it's all about who's on the same team with Pat. I don't know if you figured that out yet.
I don't.
No, it's not. It's not at all, Jared.
You know
it's
what?
just the numbers.
Well, times it's been me on the same. I don't see the connection. I don't see the connection at all.
It's just the numbers.
Shenanigans.
Jared, Pat texted me, and he prefers to be called Rogue Agent Champion Pat.
Oh.
Yeah, when you refer to him.
It really
the plaque
rolls off
isn't
the
in here
tongue.
yet. The plaque's not in yet, so I can't really until I can display that up there. Anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's go ahead and get to the karma count for this issue, and it is brought to you by Elburn Elvis. And let's see if we can play this.
I guess I'm karma.
Yeah.
Wait,
Here
we
we
hadn't guessed. We got to guess real quick. How many points?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all right. Now, before we get into karma count with Elburn Elvis, I want each of you guys to give us a guess of how many karma points he will be giving Spider-Man. And we will start with Jason.
Well, he doesn't but Vulture gets away, so that's going to cost him. We know that. He did stop the robbery at the beginning, so there is that. Minimal property damage. He makes his commitment with May. So all in all, we should be at positive. I'll say he's going to get 30. He's going to get 30 karma points for this.
Delvin.
Bad guy gets away in the end. There's a lot of property damage that occurred. I don't think it's going to be very high for this one. I'm going to say 35.
Rick?
I like how everybody's been thinking. I'm going to go and land on 30.
3?
30.
30. All right. Jared?
Honestly, 30 was what I was thinking, but since both Rick and Jason are at 30, I'm going to go 29.
And I will go 25.
That's a smart move, Pat. You
just
finally
because-
figured out how this works.
Yeah.
Even though it screwed me, I like how you figured out how this works.
I still don't know, but I'm like 25. He ain't going to get a lot. for this.
Just to get off of Jason's 30, I'm going to go 31. I'll do 31.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. Let's go ahead and find out.
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Hi Crusaders, this is Auburn Elvis. Have you ever wondered if superheroes can improve their strength by working out? Well, according
all the
to
time.
the 1984 Marvel superhero role-playing game, they can. But it ain't easy. In the game, heroes gain and lose karma points for how heroic their actions are. Karma can be saved up over time and spent to improve a hero's ability scores. Improving an ability costs 10 times its current score, so if Spider-Man wanted to improve his strength of a 42 or 41, it would cost him 400 karma. And to give you an idea of how long it would take Spidey to earn that much karma, here's the karma count for his actions in this issue. Amazing Spider-Man 224 starts off with Peter having an encouraging phone conversation with Aunt May. Full of energy, Peter decides to do some web slinging during this beautiful day. He soon spots a pack of bank robbers that end up posing little challenge for our hero. Spidey gains 20 karma for stopping the robbers, 10 karma for their arrest, and another 5 for the jokes he cracked during the encounter. After that, he heads off to the Bugle in the hopes of selling the photos he just took. The story cuts to a scene that shows you why you never leave the Vulture alone with any sort of technology. Then back over to Peter at the Daily Bugle, where J. Jonah Jameson and Lance Bannon ruined the photos Peter was developing, probably costing our hero some karma. For the next few days, the Vulture terrorizes New York, knocking over several high-profile mercantile centers. Spidey is consistently a few steps behind the villain, so Webhead is forced to call off his search and decides to visit Aunt May at the nursing home. Peter gains 5 karma for keeping the promise to visit Aunt May. Parker Luck rears its ugly head once again as the Vulture has been hiding in the same nursing home. After tussling with the Vulture as Peter, Spidey changes into costume and does battle with his foe among the home's many elderly residents. The battle causes enough property damage to cost Spidey 5 karma and end up endangering Aunt May's boyfriend, Nathan. Vulture's newfound friendship with Nathan prevents the villain from carrying through on his threats, and when he bolts from the scene, it technically counts as a win for Spidey, and he gains 30 karma for preventing a violent crime. Peter even shows up at the end to reassure Aunt May that he hadn't ditched her, ensuring that he keeps that 5 karma he received earlier for making this visit. So adding all that up, Spider-Man earns a total of 65 karma in this issue, which isn't bad considering half this issue was an AARP commercial. If Webhead were to do this kind of thing 5 more times, he'd earned enough karma to improve his strength from a 40 to a 41. I'm Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening to this karma count. Play us some of those sweet nursing home tunes, Joe November.
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Huh.
Wow, we are way off. We
He
suck.
didn't mention
the winner.
He didn't mention the damage, the property damage at the nursing home.
You
Could've
mentioned
not-
it.
He did.
But he
mentioned
didn't take
it.
out points.
He also gave 30 points for winning or for technically beating the Vulture. I think that if we all disagreed with that, if we took out those 30 points, we were all in the right ballpark there.
All right.
I mean, let's not take away though from the fact that I did win.
You did win.
You did. You did.
And Albert Elvis never once suspected that at some point we'd be dissecting every one of these.
I'm just saying. The East
He got
German
booed in the
judge.
chat too, and I just want to put that out there.
Oh, well.
We
thank you.
appreciate it, though.
Yeah, we definitely
Yeah,
course we
appreciate
do.
very
it.
nice, very nice.
It's a game within the game now. Here we go. Thank you again, Auburn Elvis, for doing that for us. We appreciate it. And that's going to bring us to the end of this part of the show. You got a comment or a question, send us an email at contact@longboxcrusade.com to make a comment on the Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook page, and we'll find it there as well, too. With that, we will be right back. All right, let's roll on. Here we go. Everybody take a deep breath.
Boy.
You know, I back in the day, like mom, she admitted years later she was mad at my brother and me if we were like being like jerks, like growing boys probably often are to their moms, whether unfortunate or intentional or not. Like she would make liver and onions, like, which is disgusting. Like, and if anyone eats liver and onions and they like it, you're a horrible person and you should feel bad for yourself. But I digress. Like, so in order to get through the liver and onions,
on that. Too cool.
like I would like hold my nose to eat it. You know, and only you'd have to just taste the griminess of the liver, which was still gross, but you didn't have to taste it as you swallowed it. Compare or contrast that to this upcoming episode of Uncanny X-Men. No further questions.
All right. Well, now we know.
Welcome to the L&O episode of Uncanny X.
I think I'm going to hate every single person on here today.
I almost.
Hey, no. Hold on. You never know. All right. Let's get into it. There's some good stuff in this one, and we'll get to it right now. Welcome back to the break. Now let's get to the second featured comic for this episode, which is determined by the Crusader Club members. Club members get to vote on this segment using the online poll only available on the Longbox Crusade page at patreon.com. As always, we want to thank our Crusader Club members for voting to help determine the programming for this show. If you want to get in on that voting and all the other amazing benefits for being a Crusader Club member, just head on over to patreon.com and search for Longbox Crusade. You can join us for as little as $1 per month. That's $1. And you get to vote and have some fun. And to determine what episode we're going to have, and to determine what second issue we will have during this episode. For this episode, the Crusader Club members selected Uncanny X-Men number 153. The credits for this issue are provided by Mike's Amazing World of Comics website. Thank you, and we miss you, Mike. The publisher was Marvel. It's got a cover date of January 1982. Its on sale date was October 13th, 1981. Cover price 60 cents. Editor is Louise Simonson. Writer is Chris S. Claremont.
Esquire.
Penciler is Dave Cockrum. Inker is Joseph Rubenstein. Letters is Tom Orzakowski, and the Color Me Bad colorist, Glennis Ween. Woo!
Woohoo! Glennis!
Told you there's some good. Told
We
you.
got to come up with something for a double Glennis. You know,
Double
we got
Glennis, yeah.
we got the double rainbow. There needs to be something cool for a double Glennis.
We do. We need something like that when there's double Glennis. Somebody help us out there. You in listener land, help us out. Tell us what we should do for a double Glennis. We always enjoy her colors. You can read along with us in X-Men Classic 57, Essential X-Men Volume 3, the Marvel Visionaries, Chris Claremont, still doing it. Marvel Milestone, Beast and Kitty Pryde. Marvel Masterworks, Volume 151 of the Uncanny X-Men Volume 7, or the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus, Volume 2, and X-Men Epic Collection called I, Magneto. Cover credits go to Dave Cockrum. Never mind. Inker is Joseph Rubenstein. And speaking about the cover, let's get a cover description from Jared.
No thanks, Pat. Back to you.
All right, Jared, thank you for that cover description. Now let's go into our quick
haters,
cover
all
thoughts.
Haters. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just jump in here right away because we got Kitty Pryde standing in front of a kind of looks like some torn up movie posters. And there's one's kind of like says X-Men, and you've got Kitty and Colossus dressed up kind of like pirates swinging. You've got Aurora who has a sorceress, and you've got kind of a cloud version behind her. There's a little Nightcrawler. There is Bamfs on that poster. There's a poster off to the side with the kind of characterized version of Wolverine that we're going to have in this issue. And we have a little Lockheed Dragon down at the bottom of this poster. And Kitty Pryde's standing in front of it in her X-Men class uniform, holding a cola and popcorn, saying, and now for something completely different, because this is a takeoff issue. This is kind of an aberration issue, if you will. That's my little cover description for you, Jared.
Okay. Thank you.
And now
Rick.
everyone knows why I didn't want to do it.
I don't know what you mean by aberration or whatever. That's a big word for me, Rick.
It is a great word for this.
Thank you, Rick, though, for doing that cover description. We do appreciate it. This one kind of reminds me, when I see them swinging like that, I want to picture like Kurt doing it, right? Because Kurt was always that swashbuckling kind of a guy that you would always see him like in that, he always would kind of have that Earl Flynn, wasn't it? That he would kind of hologrammy kind of things.
It's interesting that you would mention that, because kind of from some of the parts of this book, there is a Nightcrawler miniseries that comes off of it, really featuring a lot of these Bamfs and that little meanie Wolverine. They're all kind of tied into that, but he has his own little mini series where he does a lot more of that swashbuckling-esque type of a thing. I like this cover a lot. In fact, I've got my own copy of it signed by Chris Claremont, because this is a cover that I have up on my wall. I like this because this is a different way of looking at the X-Men. It's a different story with the X-Men, and I like that Kitty Pryde is breaking the fourth wall here in talking about what's going on inside the issue and that she is telling a story. This is a very true cover of describing what you're going to see on the inside. It's Kitty telling a story, Kitty telling her own. It's kind of presented here like it's a movie, but sure, it's kind of like a story that she's telling. It's something that's outside of what really is true inside the world of 616 X-Men. And this is an opportunity for her to tell that story. And the cover does a good job of representing that. It's fun, it's interesting, it's entertaining. So I like this cover a lot.
All right. Thank you, Rick, for your excitement about this one. You were excited to be on this particular episode for this particular issue. But let's go ahead and find out. Delvin, what's your thoughts?
I don't mind the cover. It definitely is a table setter. It's telling you that this is not going to be the seriousness of last cover, because last cover, we had the cat fight going on. And so this is clearly going to be a palate cleanser book. It gives that feel of like a editorial bullpen type book, like except that it's a part of a main series and not just like a one-off or something like that, or not Brand X or a Damage Control, something silly like that. So it gives you that mindset, and then even gives you that caption that says, and now for something completely different. So they did set the table for it in the book, and they did deliver on it in the book.
All right. Jared, let's get your thoughts out of the way.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm really glad that Captivating Kathy Brett, the MVP, is in the chat today, because she put in the chat, and I quote, "I have no idea what is happening. There's too much going on for me." Since she said, "It seems I'm the chat anchor at a 2 on this cover," which is interesting. We'll get the scores in a minute, but I do want to address what she said. There's too much going on. It's, you know what, though? As a warning, it's a good cover to let you know, just skip this issue. But yeah, it's too much going on. There's not enough continuity for me. I do like the fact that Kitty's in her best costume to date, though. We've talked about her bad costume.
This is a good costume.
It's a good costume. Yeah, and I mean, it's Cockrum. So
solid.
There'll be a certain amount of respect there, but otherwise, I take it much more as a warning. I like the red banner and red label at the top as if to say, wah, wah, wah. Skip it. And yeah, there you go. Told you, this is going to be rough.
It's going to be. All right. Well, let's move on then. Go to your brother. Will he say something different about this cover?
Artistically, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it looks visually pretty striking. We've talked about Kitty Pryde in the classic uniform. I like that. I like her looking like kind of a teenage girl with the popcorn and the movie soda. I think, well, 2 thoughts. Number one, as we continue this track, man, Chris Claremont and or Marvel Comics is really trying to promote Kitty Pryde. Really trying to promote Kitty Pryde to the point where she's a character who I like, and it's annoying me. To me, it's not until Kitty Pryde and Wolverine that I become a true fan of kitties. But we're still trying. I can tell you from a marketing perspective, as somebody who bought X-Men kind of religiously, I don't have this issue. And I can tell you that there's probably a reason why I don't. I've passed it up just because, it doesn't make me want to pick up to buy the book. Now, and now for something completely different, right? I'm just not, I'm not sold. It's screaming filler issue, pass me by. I think that kind of goes along with Jared's warning. Now, as we get into the story, I'm going to be a little more forgiving of it, but as a cover, artistically, looks pretty good. From a marketing standpoint, it's a little problematic for me. So that's going to all factor into my score.
All right. I definitely will agree with you on the art of the cover. I like the lines and the coloring on it. I think there's a lot of passion that was done in the artwork on it. With that, let's go ahead and find out our cover ratings. It is a 1 through 5 rating on this one. It is 5. You loved it. It gave you a ring to swing from. 4. You really liked it. 2. Liked it.
Yeah.
2. Didn't like it. And 1. You hated it. It turned you into a baby. Rick, 1 through 5 on the cover.
Yeah, I'm going to be the homer for this one. I've got, like I said, I've got the signed copy. This does go up on my wall, and I like it. This has a lot of nostalgia in it for me. That's probably a good portion of it as well when I see this cover, and I know what the story is going to be inside, and that makes me happy. So I'm going to go full on 5 on this one.
That's awesome. Good. And you know what? Sometimes nostalgia just gives you that extra boost. And if it means something to you, that's great. We'll go ahead and go to Delvin, 1 through 5.
I want to say that is legit awesome that Rick loves it to a tune of a 5. I also want to say that for whatever odd reason, and it wasn't for like me not liking it, the issue or whatever, I don't have this in my collection. And for like the last year plus, I've had like all the X-Men, and it's like the guy was like, oh yeah, 149, 150, 151, 152. Like, wait, I don't have 153. Huh? Okay, weird. Just one of those weird coincidences. I give the cover a 3. I think it's good. I don't have anything against the cover at all. It looks silly. And every now and again, when you read one of those books, like sometimes, as we've said often, sometimes you do have to eat the filler. And like as a completionist, I am at some point going to get this book because I should. It's not like the cover alone wouldn't preclude me from getting it. So I give it a 3. Real quick too, from the comment section, I don't know whether people were trolling or not, because again, as Rick already expressed his love and affectation for it, but Matt Passo is also a fan. Rick, if you haven't read the comments, he says this cover gets all the points, so he loves it. Courtney Holland also gave it a 5. It said cover was a 5. Botboy Versus says beautiful cover, 5 from me. And we've already talked about Kathy's, but she just said, I have no idea what's happening. Too much going on for me. Seems I'm the chat anchor, and gave it a 2 herself. So we are a podcast divided on this one. It seems like some people just are. Wait, one more. Scott O'Neill says 2. I agree with the 2 crowded comments. Kitty looks great. Storm looks great, but there's just too much going on. So we are all over the place for this one, and this is going to make for interesting review.
All right, well, let's move on. Jarrett, what's your 1 through 5 on this?
Before I reveal my exceptionally low score, I'm trying to give myself the big bucks. I want to show the audience something interesting that I just now noticed. As you guys know, I read them in the essential reprints, black and white inks only. It's not as busy. I just realized that the buildings at the bottom of the poster and the big floating head of additional Storm, I guess, those are all put in post. That's done in the term for it just fell out of my head, almost Xeroxed in later on, but they didn't exist in the original art, making it much less busy. But that's the route they went. And so, yeah, your boy's going to have to say it's a 2. I can't go any lower than a 2 on a Cockrum cover. And I do like Kitty's classic outfit.
All right. Thank you for showing us the black and white on that. That was really interesting to see it that way without that.
Yeah, they really
filler in that background. Yeah,
in post production, which I think didn't help them a lot, or maybe it did because it made the poster full. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I am going to be at a 3 on this one. I liked it. It's a solid Cockrum. It's pretty good. I like it. with that, let's go ahead and move on.
I'm also at a 3.
Oh, sorry, Jason. Jason, where are you at on this cover?
I'm going to join you and Delvin as a 3. Like I said, it's a good cover artistically. As far as from marketing perspectives and whether it would go on my wall, no. So 3 from me.
All right. Seems we are a group divided into a 5, 3, and a 2, and some variety in the chat as well. Let's go ahead and see where things are at on the story with the story synopsis by Jason.
All right. Well, this one's called Kitty's Fairy Tale. Once upon a time, Kitty Pryde told a bedtime story version of the Dark Phoenix saga to young Ilyana Rasputin. That story featured our beloved heroes told in fairy tale fashion in which they are pirates, princes, genies, and wizards. And now my brother will poop all over it. The end.
That is the most accurate synopsis you've ever.
Not only was it a great synopsis of the story, but an actual synopsis of how the rest of this episode is going to go. So that's a 2
I don't
for
know.
1 in
I
that
might
one.
change my mind.
Yeah, you never know. Well, let's go ahead and find out. Let's get to the bric-a-brac on this one. Is it a first read or a reread? Rick, I think I know your answer.
Yeah, I've read this multiple times.
All right. Well, good for you. And that's exciting to know that nostalgic feel that people have for this. I got some comics that same way myself. Delvin, first read or a reread?
We all know you're talking about Captain Carrot, Pat.
Yes, I know. I love me some.
You ain't got to sugarcoat around us, man. We've known each other too long. All right. I have not read this. This is the first read for me.
Jason, first read or reread?
Like I said, it was a gap in my collection. First read for me.
Jarrett, first read or reread or no read?
Partial read.
Partial read. All right. And it is a first read for me. So, woo. All right. Well, we tried. We definitely tried.
The saddest rainbow.
Saddest rainbow.
Man, you guys are all just hating the fact that I'm on this episode, aren't you?
No. I'm wondering.
We need you here.
Yeah.
We need you here.
When we were talking about the cover, I'm wondering, is this one that's a little more expensive? That you don't see it in some of the the cheaper bins in there.
Well, you're not gonna see it in a cheap bin, but I looked it up when we were talking about it on our text chat a couple of days ago. You get about $12. Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. So you're not gonna find it in the low, so it might be a little bit harder to find.
They have to pay Jared $12 to take it.
Maybe a little more.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into some high, lows, or what does for this. We'll start with Rick. You got a high, low, or what the?
I could do a lot of highs about this book. I'm going to probably be doing a lot of defending about this book later on, but I'm going to start off by saying what this book is giving to the X-Men lore down the line. And there's a lot of things that come out of this book as a starting point for a lot of stuff in the future. So you may think it's actually filler, but it's not. There is actually one fairly regular character that is introduced more or less through this book, just in concept and actually on the cover. And then there is...
I was wondering that.
And then there's an idea of a character in the Bamfs and the kind of mini Nightcrawlers that has been used even up until a very recent issue of comics where one of those characters was actually part of the comic book. So Lockheed as a character is introduced here. Of course, in the future, it's more the size of the little dragon on the cover than the large dragon that she's talking about. But this is actually 12 issues prior to when that character is actually introduced into the comic book. And they're kind of play testing the idea here, or they're taking the idea from this and saying, well, we're going to use this in the future. So there's a lot of little things that get introduced just through this concept. And there are storylines that are taking off from what's in this book as well. So it may feel like a filler, it may look like a filler, and it is a bit of a interesting way of doing a clip show, but they're setting up a lot of different things that are really well used in the future for X-Men lore, for X-Men ideas, and it's a good character building arc for Kitty Pryde. It's another way to really get her into the comic book and into the setting. I know that before Jason had mentioned that they were trying to sell Kitty Pryde a lot. Yeah, this was one of Chris Claremont's favorite characters that he wanted to really showcase. And I thought this was a good use of her in this setting, telling this story and introducing her and being part of the team. And it's a nice break in between a couple of storylines too. So I think there's a little bit more in here than you realize just in first glance at it. But that's my high that I'm starting off with.
Oh, definitely appreciate the extra knowledge that you're bringing for future things to come with this. And I was wondering if this was like the first appearance of kind of Lockheed, or kind of how that went here. And I also, as you mentioned too, knowing some future X-Men lore and all that, this is, within the last few years with Kitty, when she went all kind of piratey, in the Krakora years. Sorry. But I was like, I'm wondering, this is kind of referencing back to her where she was, doing that piratey stuff again.
Yeah, that's actually a good call. Recently, Kate Pryde has been more of kind of a pirate with the Krakoa eras, and this is yet another callback that they could be using with it. So
very cool stuff. With that, let's go to Jason. High, low, or what the?
I'll give it a high. I think that this, as a filler, this book is picking up at the end of the X-Men have been through a lot of things, and they're literally picking up the pieces of their mansion from their last adventure. And there is something very heartwarming by the end of it. How they all come together. And there's like a need for them to listen to this fairy tale, because fairy tales are sometimes what keep us going. The belief that there is something better, that there can be a happy ending, and how she ends the ending with Jean defeating the Dark Phoenix, overcoming it, and Jean and Scott ending up together at the end really touches Scott's heartstrings in a way that touched mine as well at the end. So although it's a fun episode, to use my humor, heart, spectacle, and art, there is a bit of heart in here as well. There's a little poignancy that I appreciated.
I agree. I think that ending and Scott just kind of melting a little bit was kind of cool to see. Delvin, high, low, or what the?
I was looking after I read the book and was wondering why Chris Claremont was so adamant about pushing Kitty Pryde. And my thought was, surely he has a daughter who he just absolutely just doted on. And that would be one reason that he just had the love affair that he clearly had for Kitty. And that's not the case. At least from the research I did, he had twin boys, and those are his only two kids. His mom is Jewish, so I guess by descent that makes him half Jewish, and Kitty Pryde is Jewish. She's very well spoken about her faith in the comic book. They bring it up quite a few times over her history. So it's possibly that Kitty Pryde is kind of his representation of maybe his mom, possibly his grandmother. I don't know that for certain, just a little bit of, let's say, to use a Stephen Colbert term, truthiness in it. So I just kind of wonder why, because this is a book that it's clear that they kind of just wanted to highlight a kind of human side of Kitty, and they've done that quite a bit. They over these past about maybe year or so, they have, they of course mentioned that she's a kid, but she's very smart. But she absolutely has the vulnerabilities of being a kid, but she's trying very, very hard to be the very best X-Men that she can be. So none of those are bad things, by the way. Like, I don't think that Kitty Pryde has been forced really in any way. Maybe until this book, and I didn't even think this was like an over-the-top forcing. I just think that Chris used this as an opportunity to be that palate cleanser, and I didn't mind that. I read it, and I was like, okay, I see this for what it is. And so, like, as much as, like, you know, we've kind of joked about it, and I can only speak for me, I did not outright hate it. I do think that reading it, I thought it was like, okay, I see it. Yes, it's kind of silly. No, I don't see much of a need to read it again. But overall, I really didn't think it didn't offend me or anything like that. And I thought it wasn't bad. And by the way, I'm only, you know, keeping my comments contained for myself, not trying to down anyone else's comments, Tom, or any comments that came before me.
No, appreciate that. Appreciate your take on that as well. I think this is one, like, I felt like it was the filler episode, or that issue of, hey, it's downtime. Now we're going to, instead of playing baseball, they did a play instead, you know? And now hopefully the next issues move, you know, get the story going again. This is, you know, the typical X-Men, let's get the team together. Let's do play some baseball, but instead we're going to do a play. And
I do want to read real quick, Pat, just a comment from Matt Paso says, this issue also gives Ilyana a small moment of normalcy before her world turned into brimstone scented poop. Because, as between the New Mutants and the X-Men, Magic has had quite the run as an X-Men, and it happened in kind of a drastic way. So seeing her as just an innocent child was like, oh wow, yeah, hadn't seen her like this in some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like Rick was kind of saying, there's some stuff going that come out of these, and it was kind of cool to see her as well too, as a young girl before all that stuff happens. Jared, you got a high, low, or a what the?
Shockingly, I have a low. Auburn Alvis in the chat made a good point. He said, keep in mind this could be a jump-on point for new readers. We saw that in Amazing Spider-Man a couple times. Here's the problem. About 15 issues or so ago, we did a jump-on point for new readers when it was Scott leaves the team and it had that gorgeous cover, but it was like all just sort of the history of the X-Men. And we all pretty much agreed it was boring. It was like you get on a bus and a kindly old man sits down and says, let me tell you the story of the X-Men from the very beginning. And you're like, okay, you know, I'm going to be polite and listen to this story. But
you sure he didn't say, hey, why don't you come on over to this pool and join me?
Yeah, well, chew the fat, you know. But now imagine that same old man said, hey, come over here and let me tell you the story of the X-Men. I'm going to tell it through the dreams of a 14-year-old girl. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Here's the problem. I still don't think Chris Claremont knows how to write a 14-year-old girl. It just, and he's been, as Jason mentioned, and I think we've all noticed, he's been trying to sell us his character for a while, and he writes her like she's basically in her 20s, and it doesn't play right. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't fit right for me. So that's a big part of it. So as I started reading this book, I was like, oh, I think I know where we're headed. You know, we got about 3 pages of story, and then I'm going to tell you the tale of, and I went, oh, okay, here we go. And I didn't enjoy the last recap issue. I didn't enjoy the quote unquote clever version of this time. I already hinted at the fact that I didn't finish it. I was like, no, I'm good. And it's X-Men's always been a tough world to get me into, and I've now found 2 versions that don't help with that. The end.
All right. Well, you know, this is all about getting people's thoughts on it. Sometimes we're going to be all on the same page. We're going to have fun. Sometimes people are just not going to be for them, and that's okay. We all.
Jared, I had to step away. Could you repeat that?
Sure.
Don't worry, I'll catch it later.
And much like Delvin, I'm not trying to rebut anyone or refute anyone. This is my take. That's how it went down for your boy, Jared, the salty guy who just can't get X-Men to work for me.
Yet. There's still time.
Yeah, well, there's definitely moments. I mean,
there's
there's
still
been some story arcs I've given 5s to. I mean,
yes,
there's
exactly.
cool stuff in here. This seems like every time we get to a recap, sort of like Auburn said, jumping on.
Yeah, you just want to get to it. You just want to get to
the last one
the
was
action.
too boring. This one was too whatever. It's out there.
You know what? After I got done reading this, I kind of felt like I kind of understood what they were going on, and that fairy tale kind of aspect to it. And here's what came to my mind. I'm going to say the statement and tell me if you get it. Hello, my name is Prince Cyclops. You killed my wife. Prepared to die.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I mean,
entertained by that.
You killed my girlfriend. Prepared to die. I kind of got it. I was like, I liked it. Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and get to round 2. Rick, you got another high? Or you got something else?
Yeah, as far as the story itself, and I know that we've been saying recap or retelling of story, I don't see it as a recap. And as far as the retelling, yeah, it's retelling the story of Phoenix, but it's not. It's a reimagining if it could be better. And it's not trying to explain the history of the X-Men because it's not. It's just her telling a story. It's a filler issue in and of itself. As for the story that's being told, I find it absolutely charming. I find it fun. I find it silly. I find it to be the good parts of what I want to see a what if world. If we go and make some certain changes and we do a what if story, this is a what if story that I wouldn't mind reading because it's kind of like what happened, but just a little bit different with a reimagining of the characters in a fun and different way. And I like that imagination. I like what comics and the comic book industry can give us with these kinds of books and with these kinds of opportunities. We can take characters that we love, we can take characters that we enjoy seeing, and we can envision them in different ways, and we can put them in different settings, and we can challenge people to go beyond the expectation of what we have in front of us. We may want the characters to act and to go a certain way. We want to take our toys out of the toy chest and get the G.I. Joe figures and battle them this way and have them G.I. Joe figures here and the He-Man figures are in our Transformer figures here. We want to retell stories with those characters in different ways ourselves. And as a kid and as an adult, I like reading through stories where it challenges you to use those toys in different ways and use those characters in different ways. And I think that that's what really speaks to me when reading this book is what Chris Claremont is doing with these characters that we like and that he has helped develop. And I like that about that. I also did want to call out one other thing before I give away all my time. My own lovely connection to the book, and that is the editor at this time is Louise Simonson, Wheezy Simonson, who is the person who came up with Power Pack. So this is right before she goes on to and starts developing Power Pack. This is what she was doing before that. She was the editor of the X-Men books. And there's a reason why when I look in my own DNA about the comics that I enjoy, it all goes back to X-Men and Chris Claremont and Wheezy Simonson. Those are the ones that I read when I was a kid, and those are the ones whose work I really enjoyed. So I like seeing what they deliver and provide, and it makes me happy. So those are my highs.
That's very cool to see that how something like this has kind of moved you in your trajectory in life. So very cool. Let's see. Jason, high, low, or what the?
I'm going to go with what the, I guess more of a question, and maybe Rick knows some of the answer to this. I got the sense that this was inspired by another comic that we've read a little bit about during our Crusade Miss, which was ElfQuest. I think I noticed one of the characters, like one of the fairy characters, was named Peony in the book.
Someone
and they're
wearing
definitely
an ElfQuest shirt in this book.
Yeah, King Pride was
an
wearing an ElfQuest shirt too.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this story was influenced by ElfQuest, and I'm trying to remember the history of it because I think ElfQuest was just kind of getting started around this time, right?
I think so. I've never really read too much of ElfQuest. I haven't read any of it really.
Yeah, it's been
yeah, but it's been about for a long period of time, and I have no doubt that there was probably some influence, and the fact that she's wearing the shirt, that's a key right there. Claremont and Cochran and all of them, they would tip their hat a lot of times when they had any kind of influence or any kind of uh, nod to anybody that they wanted to. He has Kitty wearing Cats Laughing T-shirts and call out to a lot of different other creators and a lot of different people who are inspiring him, and he's pretty open about it. So I would think so.
ElfQuest at Marvel starts in 1985, so about 4 years from now. But yeah, this is definitely the indie phase for ElfQuest.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can, and to your point, Jeff, I remember some other issues where he's definitely influenced by like Star Trek or Star Wars. There were a couple really kind of heavy references to those pop culture icons. So I as I was reading this, I was like, I'm definitely picking up an ElfQuest vibe and noticed the little clues that were dropped in there. So interesting little aspect of it. I'll just stop there.
Oh, very cool catch on that, Jason. Jarrett, we'll go to you for a final high, low, or what the.
Well, Delvin doesn't need to go, so that's fine.
I wanted to save.
I understand. No,
to
Delvin,
get you in and maybe help.
Yeah, Delvin. Delvin didn't get to hear me on last round, so at least he'll get to hear me this time. And I'm going to play off of something that Rick said and something that Jason said. Rick said this is kind of like a what if, and he's right. This would make a great what if book, not necessarily an X-Men book. It's definitely got that Elseworlds feel, and then which ties next to what Jason said. Jason said this felt heavily influenced by ElfQuest, and I was like, you know what, you're right. And I did catch the fact she was wearing that shirt at the beginning. And then Jason mentioned how Claremont will do these sort of referential issues. This one's a referential Star Trek. This one referential, and every time he does that, I don't enjoy it. It seems to be when he's doing him and his own thing, re the Doctor Doom saga that we did, which was great. I love what he does, but every time he tries to riff on something, it just doesn't land for me. But I won't end it with a low. The Dave Cockrum art, whether it was, in the regular universe or in the storytelling universe, is fantastic. Dude can't be stopped. So it's a great looking book, and that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, you are right. That is some solid Cockrum going artwork that is happening right there.
Cock of the walk. There we go. Now we got Nick.
There you go.
Delvin, high, low, or what the?
I mean, he's just a man like you and me, except that, when he puts his pants on, he draws good comics.
That's right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Your laughter means the world to me. I just want to at least add a little bit about like the X-Men part itself. One, like it did mention it. It was kind of cool that while she was telling her story, that all of the X-Men slowly gathered and kind of listened to what was going on. I thought that was very cute and very endearing, particularly given everything that's happened, just the heaviness of the book, to where even they said at the start, Wolverine was like, oh, good grief. We like this was a knockdown, drag out, session to even my standards. So there was that part of it. And I'll also give Chris a lot of credit for introducing elements that some books don't necessarily, particularly given I've read some of the current Avengers, and like the damage that happens to these cities would just take decades to recover from, and they never discuss any of it. They just move on, to the next crisis. And so what, no pun intended on crisis, but what happened in this book is where you had Professor X and the team repairing the mansion after everything, or at least breaking down everything and getting it, deconstructed so that they could start reconstructing the mansion once again. And you got Professor X like, man, am I going to have to mind wipe somebody at the bank to give me some money? Because I'm broke, son. I'm tired of rebuilding this mansion. So
Maybe it's time for Angel to come back on the team.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yes,
When he was like,
yes.
"We're broke," I was like, "Where's Angel?"
Mr. Warren Worthington III, we need your cash here pronto.
We need our number one X-Man.
Yeah, it's like Angel's not in a room, like right about to fight. It's like, do you think we have this joke of a pretty boy on the team because of this? Warren, good to see you, buddy. So yes, I do like that bit of realism that was put in, because I think even in the X universe they kind of strayed away from it because they just went only Krakoa, Mars, et cetera. So like it's been interesting just kind of seeing this down to earth part of it too.
If I could too, that really reminded me that what we see in the background while the story is being told is the actual team building of them getting together, and they're listening and having community, listening to the story and enjoying, and the friendly ribbing, the friendly making fun of each other that is going on. So it's helping to connect them as a family instead of just people who fight together.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's one of those bonding moments, bonding issues again, for sure. Well, with that, why don't we find out who went the extra mile for this issue? Either fictitiously or just doing some housework and cleaning up around the yard. Rick, who went the extra mile for you?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Kitty. This is her fairy tale. This is her story that she's telling. She's spinning one heck of a yarn for Ileana, and she is entertaining not only her, but she's entertaining the rest of the team as well.
Great pick. I as well choose Kitty too. Jason, do you choose Kitty or somebody else?
Well, I was gonna choose Jared because when I read this, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be an extra mile if he reads all this." But he immediately
I didn't make it.
So I gotta choose someone else. I'm gonna choose Lockheed because he literally carried them all those miles to have that adventure, and he was always there. He was blowing fire on the Phoenix, so I'll give it to Lockheed.
You muted, Pat.
Oh, not a bad issue as well, or not a bad pick as well. Jared, do you have somebody that went the extra mile?
Of course. Sometimes even the most subtle characters make you want to know more about them and their stories and all that. So I'm picking up on Fozzie Bear from the Muppets on page 3. Gotta love Fozzie. Actually, I'm just kidding. My extra mile award goes to Rick Heineken from Unpacking the Power of the Power Pack. He clearly has a love for this, and I know it's hard for him to probably hear somebody who doesn't, but I think that's cool. I mean, you meet people who they love certain movies that you're just like, why? I don't get it. And a younger version of Jared would battle those people. I have no interest in battling, Rick or other people who love this book. If you love it, love it. That's cool, And I bet maybe if I'd read it when I was, 1981, 6 or so, I might have a much greater appreciation for it as well. So I'm glad Rick was here to shine a light on the positives of the book, because I hate, on the network, I don't like being the boat anchor, but I'm also going to be honest with everybody. So I'm glad there's an appreciation for it. I'm glad it has a nostalgia factor for him and others. Just remind everybody that I'm coming to this at 47, never having read it before, and it just doesn't ring well. But there's a lot of things like that I went back and I tried to watch, I did watch a lot of those John Hughes teen movies that I didn't see in the 80s. And they don't ring as well for me as a 40-something-year-old man. But I can see where it could. So I do definitely want to end on the positivity. Rick Heineken gets my extra mile for being an absolute champion of this. And I think that's just fine.
I always like to quote one of my favorite podcasts. It's called We Hate Movies. And it's these 4 guys from New York who just rip into movies. They will watch it and they will make fun of it and joke it. They're a comedy podcast. And they always like to say, it's okay to like this movie. It's okay to like a movie, and it's okay to hate a movie. You don't have to take our opinions. We're doing this for fun. We're going to make fun of the movie, but it's okay to like it, and it's okay to hate it. And either way, we aren't here to change your minds on it, and it's not even trying to change minds. Just trying to emphasize the things that I like. It's perfectly fine for you to emphasize the things and explain the things why you don't like it too. And we are adults now, and I think we've all been through the times in our lives where it's like, no, you must like what I like, or I must rip down and destroy the thing that you love because that's the way I am. Yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. I can appreciate, and I do appreciate you and everybody on this network for your honest opinions of these things and the things that you like or dislike about different books. So it's okay to disagree. It's fine. But you're not going to take away my love for it, and I can hopefully make you understand it. If not, you're never going to love it, but at least I can make you understand why I like it.
I understand why you like it. Hopefully, I have eloquently expressed why I don't enjoy as much. Yep. And Kathy in the chat says I've already crossed the line on making comments about John Hughes. Although I will say, Uncle Buck is one of the greatest movies ever made, and that's a John Hughes film.
That is true. Respect.
All right. Well, I think that's the nice thing is that we can have this fun discussion about the pros and the cons that we think and still continue to be friends. And that's what this is all about. Speaking about being friends, let's go to Delvin. Delvin, you got somebody that went the extra mile for you.
Don't really see any other choice. I'll say Kitty. In that it was designed for her to kind of be the star of the book, you know, and there wasn't a ton of action that happened in real time of the book. So I'm fine with giving it to Kitty.
Solid choice as well, I think, with this one. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the ratings for this issue. Again, it's a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It gave you a ring. It gave you a ring to swing from. 4, you really liked it. 3, liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It turned you into a baby. Rick, 1 through 5.
I'm going to go ahead and give it my 5. And I will say that probably story-wise, it would probably land as a 4. But my nostalgia factor alone, that's giving it the bump up for me. So I have to go with a 5 with this. It's got a place in my heart, and it's never going to go away.
Totally understand that one. So with that, we'll go to Jason.
I'm at a 3. I liked it. I don't think it's I read it for the first time. Didn't offend me in any way. I thought it was creative. I kind of agree with Jared a little bit. I think when Claremont gets a little over influenced, that influence can be overused in the book from time to time. But for this one, I don't know. It just felt like a fun little refreshing tale. Wove its way into our story arc nicely and had a nice ending that the X-Men could appreciate in the real world to help them get through a tough time. So 3 for me.
Jared, 1 through 5.
You know, my policy is to give it like a 1 if I don't finish it. I will bless this with a 2 because Cockrum can draw like nobody's business.
All right. So give it a bump up for the Cockrum art.
Yeah, I mean, it's killer.
It
looks great. It looks great. Again, I read it in the black and white, so I'm watching the pure ink work of Rubenstein here, and it's fantastic.
All right. Delvin, 1 through 5.
As a friendly reminder to viewers and listeners, if you have a Cockrum bump, please seek medication. Botboy Versus gives it a 4. And Matt Passo says, I give this issue a 4, a fun take on recapping an important story. Courtney Holland says a 5 because it's the X-Men. I'm at a 3. It's one of those, like, you know, I see as a 3. Would I ever feel the need necessarily to run back and read it again? Probably not. But I understood what it was, understood its purpose. I also understand that whatever X-Men 154 is, should we be reading it, isn't going to be anything like this. It'll be back to the continuity of what happened. It's not like this wasn't in continuity, because it was, but it's going to be more, you know, that X-Men action that we have grown, to love and appreciate it, and a part of what has made Chris Claremont the legend that he is. That said, to Rick and to someone like Matt Passo in the comments and others, books like this also add to that canon too, so we can't take away from that. But as for me, I'm at a 3.
I will agree with you guys. Add a 3 as well. I enjoyed it. Again, I thought it was a good kind of in-betweener. Wasn't baseball, but it was a good kind of little play story that they did. And with that, that's going to bring us to the end of this part of the show. You got a comment or a question, go ahead and send us an email at contact@longboxcrusade.com or write a comment on the Twitter, Facebook, on the X, Facebook, or Instagram pages. With that, we will be right back.
Just for the record, the guys that are on Island Chump are the guy who rated it the highest and the guy who rated it the lowest. We now have to live together on Chump Island.
That is kind of awkward, isn't it?
It is weird. All right. Well, could anybody want to take this part?
I got it.
All right. I'm going to step away for a quick bit and I'll be right back, but go ahead and go through it.
Let's go through it, and we can start as far as once I read the paragraph of Pat in back yet, the clockwise thing. Rick, do you have the script up, dude?
Yep.
Okay, then you're gonna be the first person reading the comment, or the first name from Crusaders Club. Let me get started. Welcome back from the break. Now let's get to the feedback part of the show where we share your comments, emails, questions, and shares in a segment called Crusader Comments. We are thrilled to kick off these comments with special shout outs to our Crusaders Club members. These are the fine folks that have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes, voting to help determine show content, and so much more. So these are the folks reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to the show.
Alan W. Wright.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know if you're using the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen. All right. And Helica Wolf. Ow.
Oh.
I guess that makes it me. Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Braxton Underwood.
I'm pausing intentionally here. Sorry, guys. I have to check something. I suspect the name on the script is the name that he doesn't want read. I have to check something.
Hopefully, if anyone else is in the comment section has, not chimed in, now would be a good time to do so because we're getting close to reading or doing a raffle for the people who have participated in the show. We always appreciate that. So make sure to give a comment if you're watching and you haven't already. Jared, you ready yet?
Almost. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. I'd hate to read it when the dude doesn't want it read. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I'm going to err on the side of caution and say Clinton Robeson.
Captain Entropy.
Oh, Clark Westfield.
Dave Collins. Battlewagon.
Go ahead, Pat.
Eric Porter in the chat.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gene Hendricks.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
There's a lot going on over here. I'm going to drop a Eric Hodges, who's also new that I just saw.
Eric just joined us today.
That's crazy.
That's why he wasn't in the script. But thank you, Eric.
So I'll pick. So we did Heinz K. So I'll pick up Jason Keene.
Jason Lady.
My boy Jeff Bollier.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman, Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Jim Meal.
Musical genius Joe Thompson. Let me try again. Joe Thomas.
We won't skip you this time, Pat.
That's okay. I was like, oh, I almost lost him. Okay. John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Kathy Bright, the MVP.
Matt and Lissy Boyso.
Matt Ross. Or no, Mark Ross.
Maxwell Traver.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devins.
Paul Hicks.
Rick from Rick and Jeff. Jeff and Rick present.
Rob Morgan.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spreadsheet.
Spidey 67.
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
Toronto Cop.
That was the clunkiest.
That was smooth as egg. Hey, Pat,
My bad.
goodness.
Sorry about that.
before you even go on, Pat, are you still the script?
I am.
See the name I just highlighted?
Yes.
I think that's spreadsheet, right?
I
think
don't
he
know.
prefers to be called spreadsheet.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we'll come back to that. That's what I suspect.
All right. I'll keep going, y'all. If we missed anyone on our list, we apologize. Keep in mind that we record these episodes well in advance of release, so if you're a recent addition, we should be adding you soon, but don't worry about it, y'all. Let us know we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com. We'll take care of it. As a reminder, you can become a Crusaders Club member by heading over to patreon.com/longboxcrusade. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get access to the amazing world of the Crusaders Club. Come check it out. Don't have any extra money? Times are tough. We understand. Please take a moment to write a review on Apple Podcasts for this podcast or anywhere that you happen to be listening to this podcast. If you just want to keep it short with just star ratings, it will help raise the profile of our show, and we will share your review on the next show. For instance, we're going to talk about some social media shares and retweets from Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles episode 76. From June 1981. That's not when we did it. That was just the episodes. The Amazing Spider-Man 220 and Uncanny X-Men 149 were the issues that we cover. I'll cover these just real quick. A thank you to Tomas at BRaid1991, Scotty Cameron, Magazines of Monsters, and Prairie Justice, the Greg Sanders Vigilante podcast. And now we will read a few social media comments. I think, Rick, you are up.
All right. I will go ahead and take the first one there from the Hammer Strikes. That was my first ever Spider-Man comic book. The Moon Knight stuff confused me since I had no knowledge of him, but it's a great story with some great art.
I'll take the next one from Scotty Cameron. And Scotty says, I wonder what Moon Knight's karma count looks like. Looks like we get Spidey and Aunt May's karma count. And now I wonder how Moon Knight did. I was also wondering how many hosts have seen the Saw movies, given the lack of familiarity with the Saw theme. Hello, Zeppo. Hello, Zep. So yeah, that's my familiar.
I've seen, I think almost all. I think all Saw movies.
I think I saw the first 2 or maybe 3.
I've seen like 1 or 2. It just kind of became like misery porn, and I was like, it just. But then again, that's me in horror movies. So some people absolutely love the genre.
Yeah.
Just not that you just saying, Rick.
Not my bag.
Nope. No, I've skipped out on those ones. They've just never. I know the themes behind them all. I've just never have been interested.
Yep.
Well, let me explain to you why you should love it, Rick. I'm just kidding.
Different podcast, and I don't. That's okay.
See, that's what I see. Never mind. All right. Next up, we've got Max Traver, who said, I vividly remember that X-Men issue. It looms way larger in my personal X canon than it probably deserves. Must catch up and catch this episode. We might have lost Max on this one, and it's my fault. But
don't worry,
hang in there, Max.
I kept Max here.
That's right. Rick lifted up. Rick lifted it up for us. Hey, the next one, spoiler, it's got Starjammers in it, so could be fun.
That could be fun. Could be a good one.
Actually, a good one for the Starjammers.
Jason, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna keep it going.
Yeah, please do.
And we got one off of Spotify from Scotty Cameron, who says, great episode. Love the discussion about Spider-Man's first encounter with Moon Knight and a spooky X-Men story.
Scotty's good at getting his name mentioned twice on our podcast. He's done that a few times with Transformers Chronicles, which we greatly appreciate there. And we certainly greatly appreciate it here too. Spotify listeners, if you are checking us out, by all means, please let us know, give us a like over there or subscribe and make a comment. We will read it. Voicemail, you can do that too. You can call us and leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on this show. You leave us a message at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
I got to the mute button late.
Hi, and you get to hear that song in beautiful stereo. And thank you to everyone for the likes, shares, follows, and comments. We do appreciate your friendship and your help in spreading the word about this podcast.
And that's the show. Be sure to check out the website, longboxcrusade.com, where posts will be made for journaling this crusade. I want to thank Rick, Jared, Jason, and Delvin for joining me on this episode. But before we go, let's find out where the listeners can find us on the internet and send your hate-filled messages to via DMs. And we'll start with Rick.
Well, you can find me over on the show that I host, which is called Unpacking the Power of Power Pack. And I do that with my co-host, Jeff, who I have to routinely check out of the Restwell nursing home because he is old. And he's also a supervillain.
Well,
what's the podcast name again?
Unpacking the Power of Power Pack.
Because the Power Pack
I
almost did it, but he was like on his roll. I didn't want to get it.
I didn't want to me neither. I
was with you, Pat.
I saw where you guys are going to. I saw what you're laying down. I served it to you.
All right. Delvin, where can you be found?
Sometimes have I been on an episode of Unpacking the Power of the Power Pack? I think I've been on one, right?
Yeah, you are. You came on when we were doing our New Warriors run through
thing. That's right. That's right.
It was an experiment, and I will never do that again. It was too much.
That's been our experience with Delvin as well.
No. It wasn't that. We covered a lot of issues in one episode, and it was horrific. And it was an experiment, and we decided not to do that again. So.
All right, y'all. You can find me DE_RAY on Twitter. Also Delvin Ray on Instagram. Jason.
You can find me at Jason Albrick on Instagram and on Threads. Jared.
I am at Yard Sale Artist at X and Facebook and Instagram. You can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. I know we don't do a lot of politics on the show, but I'm also on the Senator Kelly re-election campaign, so be sure to help me out with that.
You know what I should have dropped off for you? I've got a couple of bumper stickers for
you. I have some. You've given me some in the past. Yes.
I would also, if I could also, if you go to our website, Jeff and Rick Present, and you put in Jeff and Rick Present Tales of Tales, my daughter has started to do her own comic strip. It's coming out every other week, and nice. I do not mind plugging it because my daughter is a really good artist, and she's a pretty good cartoonist. She's got some good comedy beats, and I really am enjoying promoting her work. So Jeff and Rick Present Tales of Tales.
I got some of her original artwork up on my fridge.
Yep.
All right. That seems like I've seen that come through some posts, and they look very fun and well done as well, too. So I think Jason would kind of like that. It's all about the cats, I think.
Yeah, she did some character sketches of my cats. Let her up on the fridge.
Oh, that's awesome. And I can be found at Christatos01. With that, all right. And if you want to interact with us via live chat and be entered in to win some free stuff on our live raffles, just like we're recording this episode now, it is live in front of a YouTube audience and other social media sites. Join us in our next episode of a Doing It live stream on YouTube. It's the second Sunday of every month, except for if it's Mother Day or another holiday, we will move it on to the next week. And that will be at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So go ahead and check out Longbox Crusade on YouTube. And please remember to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications of when we go live. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed this episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles. You got a comment or a question, email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com or leave a comment on the Longbox Crusade Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page, all at Longbox Crusade. Until next time, take care, and please join us on the next episode as we continue on the crusade to
Reading all.
And we out.
Oh, yeah. Man, 2 new patrons.
What's that put us at? 44?
According to this, 44. And our patron generates $6.2 million a month.
$1 million. Yes.
So,
yeah.
welcome to the last episode.
As an aside, don't check out my comic book room right now. It might have Superman 1.
All right, let's do some giveaways. As promised, the mini Transformers are already packaged up because I explained all that earlier. We're going to give away mini Transformers, a package of them to, I don't know who we give them away to, Delvin. You need a number, don't you?
Yeah, I got blanked on Kathy's name for half a second. Kathy, Matt Paso, Bot Boy Versus, Doc Strange, Eric Porta, Armin Elvis, Courtney Holland, Scott O'Neill. Did I miss anybody? Does anyone else see any name passing by that I may have forgotten?
I think you sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's 8 folks. Then Courtney, if you could give me a number between 1 and 8, I would appreciate you.
I don't. Can they hear you still?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're still recording.
We're still live.
We're still live.
We're still live. Bot Boy's still in the chat. He needs to know if he wants
there we
something.
He's got a 1 in 8 chance. That's almost half.
That's like 42%, I think.
It is.
I think there's a fraction in there.
8, she says.
Courtney picked 8, so that would mean it would be the person that I put the marker on, which would be Mr. Eric Porter.
Oh, it pays to be new, Eric.
Hey.
Eric now has a chance to win twice because we're about to do the Crusaders Club drawing. This time around, I've used my secondhand book hunting skills to help maybe some of our listeners who enjoy our Sherlock Holmes material, because I found this big old bad boy of Sherlock Holmes stories.
Look at
that we're going to send this off to one of our Crusaders Club members. Hopefully they're one of the ones that enjoys the Holmes
That's
stuff.
pretty thick.
How thick?
Super.
Hopefully you're one of those 3.
So Courtney, hit me with a number between 1 and 44, and I'll randomly place my cursor, scroll up, scroll down, not look at the screen. 1 and 44. We're going to give away this fatty boom batty of Sherlock Holmes stories.
Mr. Boombastic.
These would be cool because you could be like Kathy on LBC Regulars when we do the Jeremy Brett. She reads the Holmes and then watches the show, so you could be like her and like read it and know all the inside scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Courtney picked 43, which means if there's 44 of them, I got to just basically go up 1, which would be a musical genius.
November.
Now, you know what you should do on that one is on the front, one of the front blank pages, maybe do a little sketch.
A little sketcheroo.
Yeah,
I would,
Sherlock.
except it's Joe, so he hasn't earned anything.
I say, you know what? I say you take that book rip it in half and give it to him.
Oh, you could do a little sketch of Sherlock singing a tune.
There's a lot of art direction going on this episode.
And only one artist. So
Man,
Right.
I'm here. I'm ideas guy.
I have so many ideas, guys, in my life. All right. Well, if you're still here, thanks for being here. Come see Jason and I at HeroesCon in Charlotte this year. Just find my table, stop by and say hello.
That's right. I'll be over there pissing off Al Milgram. We'll make sure we go piss off Chris Claremont for you.
Thank you.
So
Yep.
we'll get
Please
them
say
all.
hi to June Brigman for me. I think that she's going to be at HeroesCon.
So
Yeah.
I think I said hey to her for you at DragonCon.
I appreciate it.
Yep, she was catty corner from me. I remember now.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again on this live recording. We will see you all next time. Or if you're a Crusader Club member, maybe we'll be seeing you sooner.
Woo, secret stuff.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Everybody freeze.